Welcome to Monday Morning Express. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it sure
at
has.
least
What,
for me.
what have we been doing?
I don't know. Was there a
Well,
hurricane
You've
in
been
there?
gone. There's been a hurricane. Now you're back.
Now you did an episode a couple weeks ago with Hal.
Yeah, that was great.
In the nickel plating, right? Which is a really neat thing to know how to do.
A lot of guys don't know how to do that, and he had such a nice little technique and able to nickel plate those drivers. You can do side rods, just a variety of things. So really good episode.
It's amazing how much better that makes a model look and how much newer it makes it look. So whether it never had it originally or it wore off through use or improper cleaning, that's a nice thing to share. So
a lot of people are loving those how-to videos.
Yeah,
which is good.
With Hal.
So we'll try to keep them coming, all right?
Yeah, that's great. Also, I know we also have some big news as far as things coming in this week and very shortly, so tell us about it.
We are ramping it up. I know we've given teasers out over the past couple of episodes. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming. But we have been told that they're shipping, they're on their way for us this week. So we're supposed to get...
that's the Glacier Park?
The Glacier Park, the T1s, the PRR T1s. So those should be here this week. Really looking forward to it. We've had some pictures up of those. We've seen some of the pilot models. They look really, really good. So look good, sound good, run good. So
that's
looking forward to that.
That's a winner. And then following that up, another big project.
Division Point. We know there's a couple of setbacks that Jack had at Division Point on the C&O M1s, right? So we're going to be getting those in here either this week or next week. So they're on their way to us. I believe what he did is he changed it from the Loc sound. Now it's going to be to the soundtracks.
Okay, nice.
So Dennis Bartholow is going to be installing all of that, taking care of that, testing them, and then they should be to us here shortly. But that's another really nice
those
project.
Wood boxes,
wood
laser
boxes,
engraved,
yeah. So those are going to look good.
Those are two really prolific engines, both East Coast engines, but I mean they have cross appeal as far as if you're into streamlined or just. I mean they're going to look pretty impressive sitting on a shelf or running on a layout. Either way.
And both of these are really big projects for both Jimmy and Jack.
They are.
So they're looking to get these delivered. And we're looking to get them out to you because we've had a lot of reservations for these.
And now both with sound and DCC.
Absolutely.
So we're happy to see a little bit more of that in the brass industry because of our feedback from our customers.
And on the PRR T1s, we still have a few left, so make sure to go to our website there and click on the new reservations and you'll be able to get those. Otherwise, we'll have some and we'll just be putting them up on our site as we get them. Yeah,
great. Now, another thing I missed, unfortunately, Ed Kurzenski came to visit, his first visit.
Yeah,
I was
you
out
missed
of town.
a treat.
My timing wasn't great, but I heard not only did you have a good time with Ed, but he loved the facility.
Yeah, he did. When Dan's gone, we always say, "What are you doing, Glacier?"
He probably bought pizza and did all kinds of fun things, and I was toiling away somewhere.
It's party time.
Buying trains.
Yeah, that's right. But no, that was a great interview, and we're about to play that, and you're going to see some of the stuff that's really Ed is passionate about.
Give me a hint. What did you talk about?
Slim Princess.
Oh, nice.
And his very first model.
Oh, that's cool.
Take a look at that.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at it right now. I can't wait.
All right. Well, we have a special in-studio guest, Mr. Ed Kurzenski of
Morning, everyone.
Terminal Imports.
Finally made it here.
Yeah, right? Yep. Welcome to sunny Florida.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sunny.
Had a
wet.
good trip?
Sunny and wet. Well, humid, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, you know what? Most of the country's been wet. We've been dry, but now we got a little bit of rain because you brought it with you.
We brought it with you. We've had enough rain.
Well,
rained a lot in California this year. Yeah.
Well, hey, it's glad to have you here on
Great
set.
to be here.
Thanks. We gave him the tour already. What'd you think?
The tour is amazing. Everyone, I highly recommend if you can get down here, you should.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's Mecca for us brass folks.
Yeah, a lot of brass here, a lot of brass. Well, we know we've had Chuck here before, and that's great. But now we've got you, the other partner, right?
The other half.
Half at UTI, and so certainly are glad to have you here with us. Now, before we get into this project, because we're going to talk about the Slim Princess, and you've got some cool stuff that we're going to be able to see, but I just wanted to know a little bit about what got you into brass. How did you get into brass?
Well, as I'm sure many folks that are our age, or my age anyway, used to frequent hobby shops when they were much more prevalent, and walking in a hobby shop and you seeing the brass completely all lined up, every piece. People would buy it on spec back then. I mean, the hobby shops would stock brass, and so walking in as probably a 10 or 11-year-old, and looking at the brass and dreaming someday wistfully that I might actually get one. The hobby shop was in Anaheim. I think it's Anaheim. It was called the Little Depot. It was not far from Knott's Berry Farm.
Okay.
And so went in there, saw a piece of brass that I wanted. It was a Balboa Southern Pacific C9 280.
Ah.
And I had to have it, wanted to have it, had to have it. I've seen a dozen of them come through on the site here over time. You know, pretty crude model, but it was the only way to get an SPC9 at the time. So I plunked down probably $10 on layaway. And I think probably the price of it at the time was probably 80 or 90.
Now, how old were you?
11 maybe?
11 years
or 12,
old,
yeah.
And you started the layaway process.
I started the layaway
wow.
process, right.
How were you making your money?
Paper out.
Paper route.
Paper out, yeah.
To pay
paper
for
out
your
and my
brass.
allowance to pay for my brass, right? And I'd have to beg my parents to take me there. We didn't live nearby. It wasn't like I could ride my bike.
Yeah.
So I have to beg. My uncle lived not far, but it was still 15 minutes, and it was inconvenient. They didn't want to do it, but they did. And so probably took the better part of a year to pay it off. That day I got to bring it home, though, you know, the blue box, the gray foam, the pristine model. Yeah, it was a big point in my life as far as model railroads. I thought, wow, I finally made it. I had an interesting layout that my dad had helped me build, and it was in our garage. And it was on a ping pong table that was, you know, strengthened. And my dad worked in the aircraft industry, and he was an expert with like control surfaces, and so the pulleys and the cables and everything. So he built this motorized contraption that lifted the layout up above the car. So he pulled in the car underneath the layout. So, you know, we'd have to move the car. But I actually had a layout at the time, not very much scenery, and I was not very talented as a modeler at all. And so, you know, the model, I know that model never was painted. I ended up trading it away, and I think it was traded away for a diesel, I think. I don't remember exactly what I traded it for, but probably about 10 years later I traded it away.
Wow.
So anyway, that's how I got into it.
So that's how you got into brass.
Yeah, and at the time in Southern California, there were probably 6 or 8 shops that stocked brass. Of course, Fred's shop, the Whistle Stop, had the biggest collection, but at the time there was Allied Models, Alan Drucker, and you know this Hobby City was where this was located, the Little Depot. There were a couple other shops. You know, there was a shop in San Diego that's and so you just make the rounds on Saturday. Once I got to drive, that's what I went and did. You know.
So before you were able to purchase a car, you've purchased brass.
Oh yeah,
as a youngster.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A little different than probably today, right?
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's cool. That's a nice story.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, glad you got into brass at such a young age. How many pieces you got now, or approximately?
Probably close to 100.
Okay.
I mean, I tend to, I don't continue to just acquire and keep.
Yeah. You swap out?
I swap them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as interest
enjoy
wane,
it all.
Yeah, interest wane.
Sure.
I'll fund additional purchases with
That's
that.
the beauty of this hobby.
Now being part of the business, and we're pretty proud of our models, especially the most recent ones. And so it's hard to look at other things in the same realm as far as models are, right? I mean, they, from an art form, they're great, but the modeling fidelity and such is just changing so rapidly with the later releases, and so it's
okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, hey, you're here to talk about a special project, one that we've mentioned on MME. It's certainly one for us at BrassTrains.com that we've got a lot of reservations for. We're happy to hear about it, to be able to post it, and that is the Slim Princess project, because you've got just about everything in there. You've got your steam, you've got your diesel, and, you've got the rolling stock cars. So it's a wonderful, wonderful project. But you're going to tell us a little bit about some of the pieces, and you got some drawings or some GODs.
I do. We have some GODs that are back from Korea. We've Seiho takes our data package, which maybe you've seen. We posted a few of them around the PA project and the KM project. I mean, really comprehensive sets of information we send over there, and Seiho creates drawings from those. He creates, these are two-dimensional CAD drawings, but then these are used to create 3D drawings to make the parts and the casting patterns and all of those things necessary to actually assemble the model. So this, what we're going to show you is the turn back after we redline his first pass. So these are pretty much baked. These are ready to start construction from. And as Roland mentioned, we tried to, thinking about the Slim Princess, it was such a unique prototype, isolated, hard to get to, hard to look at, but it's pretty well documented, and a lot of people really like it because of its uniqueness, right?
Yeah.
And so what we did is we decided, I know Jimmy did SNN3 locomotives, and he did the combines and for cabooses, but he did a boxcar plastic kit, but no one has done any other rolling stock. I mean, there's some resin stuff out there, and I'm sure there's some laser printed stuff now, but it's such a unique prototype that is so specific in the details associated with it. You can't really use anything else. So we decided to do the whole thing, to do everything necessary to create a model representation of
it's
that
a complete
environment.
package.
It is.
It looks really, really good.
And I have a little personal interest in it because it's smaller. The models are smaller. I actually have enough space to build a little Slim Princess model layout, right?
Yeah,
I don't have enough room to run passenger trains or any long freight trains or anything like that, but I have enough room for one of these.
Well, this will fill the need, I'm sure.
So this is a personal pet project of mine. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, show us a little bit about what you got here.
Sure. So we've got 6 steam locomotives, and we've got the drawings are the tender and then the profile and top, bottom, side, end views of each of the locomotives.
Okay.
What you'll see, there's some color representation. There's some colored lines and such as you look at. These are corrections. So where the colored lines are is something that we've sent back to Seiho, and he's corrected in these drawings. So it's an interesting representation of how the process iterates, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
So, and it goes through all of them. And we are actually going to change the description. We're not going to change the model numbers because I know we've already got a lot of reservations, but the descriptions, in looking at this project, what we found is these locomotives changed a lot in the last 10, 12 years of their life. Okay. And so we're going to pick a specific date, and we're going to reference that date, so everyone will know when in time this represents. Okay. So it's a little bit different. We always try to do something to take these to the next level when we do a project, right? Right. So it's basically the takeaway is the description is going to change a little bit.
What in the description is it color scheme on it at all? Or?
No, it's just position of, for example,
headlights or
the
something?
headlight might have changed from a golden glow to a pile.
Got it. Okay.
And when that happened was May of 1955.
Right.
And we're going to reference that.
So you put the circa on there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Very good.
So we'll know. Yeah.
Okay. So
most fans of these models know, but for those that don't.
Right. Okay. So we saw that you have 6 of the steam engines.
Yes.
Right. And so, how many diesels were there again?
There was only one in the prototype world. Okay. What we're doing it in 3 different versions, 3 different paint schemes.
Okay, right. 3 different paint schemes. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, this is quite the project. I believe 18 different pieces overall, right?
Right.
We've got it, listed on our site there. How are reservations coming along?
Really great. The steam locomotive's been greenlit, so we're in production on the steam locomotive, and I think we have enough to do the rolling stock. Certainly the cabooses. Right. There's an auxiliary tender that goes with the project. Sure. I think we have enough of those. And then the freight cars we're only analyzing whether or not we can offer different road numbers. I mean, it would be great to offer different, 3 or 4 different road numbers. And I think we can do that based on the reservations. If I was betting, I'd give it a 95% chance that the whole thing's going to get built at this point with the reservations we have. So.
All right, good. Boy, I mean, this is a cool-looking project. It's a big project.
It's a big project
because there's
a lot of work.
Many. Yeah, there's so many different pieces.
And we were talking before we started. Yeah. This is our first steam project.
Yeah.
And so we're very fortunate to have Seiho as our primary, as our singular builder, right? And so, as everyone knows, Burim is the gold standard for brass steam locomotive models, and so we're confident this is gonna turn out great. And then who knows? We have lots of requests at this point for other things that we need in the industry, and we'll see.
All right. Now, anything special about these as far as I think we were talking earlier about the capabilities as far as plugs for?
Sure. So everyone that knows HON3 knows the models are very, well, the prototypes were small.
Very small.
The models are small. And one benefit we see with these models is that the tender is an oil tender, so there's no coal bunker. Right. So it creates some room in the tender. And that with the loaf of bread shape, the tender can come apart in two pieces. And so what we're going to do is wire all of the connections for the DCC plug and a speaker mount into the tender. Into the tender. Awesome. So you won't have to take apart the locomotive to put in DCC. I know we're getting a lot of feedback that everyone would like DCC options in our models, and we're just not quite comfortable enough. Chuck and I both do this not as a primary job, and being able to tech support DCC issues is just something we're really nervous about. Yeah. So we want to enable it, but we're not sure we could provide the level of customer support necessary or possibly necessary, right? I mean, for those that don't know, Chuck and I guarantee these models. If you're not happy with it, you send it back.
100%.
And so, you know, we want to minimize the opportunity for us to have to, you know, to deal with that. And hopefully everyone understands at this point, DCC is matured enough that the plug-and-play aspects of things work pretty well. Yeah. I mean, you have to know the JMRI to program them or to set CVs at how you want, volumes, those sorts of things. But it's pretty intuitive at this point. It's not,
So the plug, though, is going to be in the tender. So
in the tender.
That makes it a lot easier, too, to be able to access, right? So I actually like that.
Steam engines are intimidating, right? You look at them and I don't want to break it, right? But taking them apart is actually pretty easy, right? I mean, there's a couple screws and the boiler comes off and then you're in it. But we understand.
Small space.
We understand. In these models, there's no space.
Right.
Seiho had to get a new, smaller motor that has been used in another HON3 project because of the boiler size.
Sure.
A Maxon EN22, or sorry, Canon EN22 won't fit in the boiler.
Ooh,
so.
Okay.
But
all right.
They're really great.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we're looking forward to this. Now, when do you think we might see some delivery?
Yeah, we're at this point in time, we're going to green light production soon. So I would expect probably Q1 2020.
Okay.
Is when we'll see the steam locomotives. As soon as we get this one pushed off, and the delivery of our next project was the Illinois Central trains, the 10-6 sleepers, the E units, as you know.
Yes.
All of those are coming shortly, within a few months, and so it's gonna pretty much overwhelm Chuck and I doing the quality testing and the shipping.
That's a lot of models.
It's a lot of models. I think there's like 400 sleepers. It's a lot of models.
UTI is really ramping it up. You guys are doing quite a bit.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
It's well, you know, those models have needed to be done, and they haven't been done. And these, you know, it's the way we do them and the way you approach them is to take the same basic model. And then find out all the places it's used, and then leverage the shell and the model.
Yeah, cool.
So we have some other interesting things in the hopper, and I know, you know, on the prototype modelers pages, there's some questions about GEs and the lack of quality GE. You know, especially the big U-boats, and being Southern Pacific fanatics, for lack of a better term, we're contemplating the big GEs at this point. So this is the first time we've let that cat out of the bag. It's not on the website. It's not on the website yet. I hadn't even told Roland before we started.
Look at that. I'm surprised. No, that's great.
It's something, again, it's one of those ones I'm really passionate about. I grew up watching the big GEs on Tehachapi.
Sure.
So, and like I said, Overland did a couple of them, but they did one SP version of the U33, but it was 20 years ago. And it was tank drive with a replacement drive that came out afterwards. So. Good model, but these will be a little bit better.
Wow. Well, we're looking forward to that one. So maybe we'll get all the specs up on the site.
We will get them.
Soon,
we'll get them to you. Yeah. DH643s are moving forward.
Okay, good.
We're really excited about that.
Good.
And when I was driving up here this morning, I was thinking about the DH643s, and they had a similar life cycle to the KMs, right? They were used when they were new, they were tested, they were beat up, and then they sat for a little while. So they didn't have the same paint fading problems that the KMs did. If you recall, we did that one faded version, first time, I think, that a brass model has been delivered in a ready-to-weather state. SP Dark Gray is really difficult to make lighter once it's on a model. So what we did is, for those that didn't know, is we brought in a lighter version with faded gray and faded orange. I'm contemplating doing one of those on the DHs as well.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I'll leave you a photo of one that's been weathered as well. Really cool to see.
Oh, we'll put it up then.
Yeah, okay.
Very nice. So there's a lot going on at UTI.
A lot going on.
And so we might call this Project Updates with Ed Kurzenski of UTI. Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
You know, we always thought that this would be just kind of a sideline. It's becoming all-consuming, and especially when the models arrive.
Right.
When the KMs arrived, it was my wife and I and Chuck. Chuck's wife was out of town, but Chuck's garage serves as the shipping headquarters for UTI.
Oh.
And all of us were in the garage testing models, packing models, and getting models ready to ship. And the KM project, I think it was only about 160 is what the project. So I can't even imagine what 400 models are going to be.
And you guys go through, your quality control is very good. You guys go through and test everything, you run everything.
First we inspect them to make sure that all the details right, to make sure nothing's falling off, to make sure nothing happened in shipping, make sure there's no fingerprints. Things slip through though, obviously. But like I mentioned earlier, if you run into a problem with one of our models, we'll figure out how to take care of it.
Yeah.
And
well, we can attest to that. And I certainly thank you guys for that, because we see it. We get a lot of models in. Here, a lot goes through our hands too. And I personally get to see all of the new brass that's, you know, brought in by each importer, and you guys do a fantastic job at QC.
Thanks.
So we really appreciate that, and I know the customer does too, because ultimately they're the ones that wants to end up.
Nobody wants to open one off and find a part laying in the box.
That's it.
We've all done it, but nobody likes it.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. Well, we certainly appreciate you traveling all the way from California just to see us.
All the way just to see you.
So, but glad to have you here with us, and glad to hear about some of these exciting projects with UTI, and a new one, of course, that we're going to see introduced here shortly.
Sounds good.
So we appreciate you coming, Ed. Thank
appreciate
you so
it,
much.
Roland. Thanks.
All right.
Hey, nice job with Ed.
Yeah, it was great having him here, I tell you.
Again, I'm sorry I missed it, Ed. Hope to have you back soon. But I'm really excited about that Slim Princess project.
Yeah, that's looking really good. And what'd you think about, you know, they're putting in the pin to plug in your decoder, but it's going inside the tender, which makes sense.
Especially on a small engine. That boiler with the weight, there's not much room in there with the electronics.
So just a few screws, take off the bottom, plug in your decoder. So it should work really well.
Yeah, very easy. So if we're not going to have sound and DCC in it, it's really a nice feature to at least make it easily accessible to the end user to add that. I think they'll really appreciate that.
Really good call.
Yeah, they're doing great work at UTI. We love those guys.
They're busy.
Keep it up.
Right.
Hey, did you bring your personal collection to work today?
Something like that.
All your best models?
Yeah, it's bring your collection to work day. Yeah, so, well, you kind of wonder why we got all these boxes. They're all, you know, PFM Uniteds. They're all like, what's the difference between this one that's got, you know, the jean box versus the no jean box versus the silver versus the green versus this dark blue? Well, there's been a lot of chatter on the forums lately about PFM boxes, you know, and what year each one belongs to. So we decided to tackle the project.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of boxes.
And you know, some of it's easy. Some of it, even a novice collector could identify quickly. But some of it, there's some real nuance in there where it gets real tricky. And it can affect the value.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we've got our shelves, as you've seen,
yeah,
lined with some of these PFM boxes. And so we're going through them, sorting them all out. And hopefully in a future episode, we'll be able to, you know, maybe even have a show about that, about what year each one was built. Why the change? Why did they go to this ugly silver box? You know?
That was my favorite. I know also you've, and we'll get into it more, but it's not just the color of the boxes. There's some other identifying features that you're going to bring out for us. So I look forward to...
I'm going to give you a hint on one. Why is this one corrugated on the bottom?
I don't know.
And this one's not. We'll get into it. All right, looking forward to that.
Can't wait. Now, they may have seen our book from the beginning, and you know, it's always a happy time to look at our book again. Unfortunately, the reason we brought it out this time is a little bit sad. One of our contributors was Jim Walsh. Jim helped not only in the interview, but he really helped extensively with the key imports, because he did a lot of work with them. He helped in the pricing and identification with the New York Central models, way back when we did the book and the first price guide. So Jim has always really been a source of information to us, who we will miss, because he did have a real passion for collecting, and that came through in the knowledge that he was willing and able to share with us and many others as well.
Yeah, and I know, although he passed away, recently in the last few months here, The guy knew so much about trains. I remember, I mean, we've talked to him on the phone. Yeah, we've had him in our book. Remember when we went up to, we were up in Springfield, I believe, at one time, and Jim's there, and he was plugging the book with us and everything.
Sure, we did a clinic, and he helped
great.
us out with that.
Yeah.
Also, I know he's close friends with Hal Maynard, you know, who's
Yeah.
obviously on the show all the time.
Right.
Those guys were constantly sharing information, having the occasional debate, which was good for everybody in the hobby as they tried to figure things out.
Yeah.
But we'll miss him, so we just wanted to add that as a little tribute.
Yeah. So we appreciate Jim, that's for sure, and everything that he's done for the hobby.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you all for joining us on Monday Morning Express, and we'll see you next time.